We'd like to thank the following sponsors for helping provide this video.
Ahmed Sidky. And I will let him give his bio, unless you want to read all of this right now. Everybody read it really fast? Okay, good. I think they do a much better job presenting than I am on his bio. So welcome, Ahmed.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good, all right, just making sure the energy's still there. All right, so quick introduction, visual introduction, I guess. My name is Ahmed Sidky. I'm a lot of different things. I started my career as a developer, and I still am a developer when I have some free time. And after a number of years doing development and project management work and all the kind of fun stuff we do every day, I decided to do my master's in what I thought was one of the most painful parts of the software life cycle, which was requirements engineering. So I did my master's in requirements engineering in hope to solve the problem of changing requirements. Didn't really solve that one. But actually it was interesting because what I learned there actually, I remember going up to my advisor after finishing my master's, and we had sort of drew a roadmap to continue my PhD in the same topic, and I went up to him and I said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, why? I said, this is so far from reality, it hurts. It sounds good on paper, but I've been in the trenches pretty much my whole life, and this just doesn't work for me. And he said, so what do you want to do? And Agile, the manifesto was just, written at that point in time, and I actually told him I want to discover, create something, the way people actually work. And I remember him leaning back in his chair, he looks at me and he says, good luck. I don't know if that exists. And so, anyway, I decided to do my PhD in Agile. I was one of the first people that did a PhD in Agile, and actually it was focused on Agile transformation, on how to help organizations transform to this thing called Agile, and some assessment there. After that, I co-authored a book called Becoming Agile in an Imperfect World. It talks about basically how to become Agile with all the beautiful constraints that we have during that amazing journey. I co-founded the International Consortium for Agile. I also sat on the PMI steering committee for their PMI ACP Agile certification. And this is what I love to do. I help organizations transform to Agile, train, coach, all that kind of good stuff. But anyway, we're here to talk about Agile and Agile transformation and sustainable agility. So I hope we can all agree as we start this that Agile is on the rise. I don't need to establish that, right? Agile adoption is on the rise. Statistics, surveys, all that kind of beautiful stuff out there if we really wanted to go into that. But I think we all have that gut feeling, just look at the room here. And it's not just on the rise on a team level. Actually, most of the conversation right now is about scaling Agile, enterprise Agile, going beyond the team. And not just that, but we want it sustainable. We don't want to invest, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars into an Agile transformation, then 2-3 years later, things go back to the way it was. So there's a lot of conversation about sustainable Agile, Agile transformation. And so I want you to meet Jack. Jack is the CIO of Future Corp. Future Corp, they're around, 100,000, 100,000, 10,000. It's been a long day. And their IT organization is around 3,000. He has a goal. I want to transform the organization to Agile, and I want to do it as soon as possible. And of course, Jack has a plan. So the plan looks something like this. We're going to start training across IT, probably on Scrum. We're going to pick a star from the IT organization. Her name is Stacy. And she's going to be in charge of the Agile transformation in addition to her day job because, we can't really find it. We launched 2 pilot projects. They were doing Scrum, and they were fantastic. I mean, the results were super. So a memo from the CIO comes out and says, we are moving to Agile by the end of the year. Okay? The plan is to launch 5 new teams every quarter. And the CIO is showing his commitment by meeting with Stacy every month to track progress. I mean, that's a committed CIO right there. And by the way, they're procuring a new Agile tool because they want to make sure it's going to be consistent, this beautiful Agile thing we're doing. Does this sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
Painfully?
Yeah.
I did not steal it from your organization, I promise. It's just, this is the plan that every organization, interestingly, has out there right now. And we're going to ask two questions throughout this whole, whatever amount of time I have left. Is this thing going to really work? And by really work, will we really be Agile at the end of this? So that's question number one. And then question number two is, okay, even if it works, for how long? How sustainable is agility when the transformation looks like this? So those are the two questions we're going to answer today. Cool? Let's get started with the first one. Will it work? Will we really be Agile? Who here has heard of Shuhari? Shuhari. Okay, so I was going to skip these slides, but I'm not, because I think the majority has not heard of Shuhari. So when you learn anything new, there's different learning models, different things, but I really like this one, Shuhari. It comes from the martial art of Aikido. And basically the idea is this: if you're going to learn something new, you go through 3 stages. The best way to explain this is really to give an example. So I'm not from Boston, I'm from DC. And Peter, you live here? You live in Boston?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to call Peter up and I'm going to ask for directions from the airport to here. And Peter's going to say, oh, that's easy. There's 5 different ways to get here. But I have no idea if this is real or not, but 5 different ways to get here, and Peter tells me all 5 ways. Did he just help me or confuse me?
Confused you.
What do I need?
One way.
I need someone to pick me up. That's probably what I need. I really need one way. I need the simplest way, even if it's not the most efficient or effective way. Just give me something simple, because guess what? When I'm in Shu, I'm following directions. I put that GPS on, and whatever it says, yes ma'am, right? There's no argument, there's no, I know a better way, none of that. When you're in Shu, you follow instructions. Why? Because you've never tried it before. And you want to get to done. As soon as you get to done, you're the happiest person alive. Okay? So that's Shu. Then we move into Ha. Let's assume I start taking that route from the airport to here more often. Now I start to understand, okay, there are 5 different ways to get there. And depending on the time of the day, depending on the weather, depending on traffic, depending on whatever, right? You pick and choose which of these different approaches you want to take. But remember, it's still a finite set. I'm picking from route 1, 2, or 3, right? It's, you know when the GPS gives you, do you want route 1 or 2 or 3? If I don't know anything, whatever. But actually, if you know a little bit, right, you're in Ha, you can actually pick the route based on the circumstances you know. Then we move into Re. Re is this, you're just driving. You're probably eating on the phone, doing something else. You are just driving from home to work every day. And you're not, it's not like you have a finite set of routes. Your GPS is off, and again, you're just driving. And if the highway is backed up, you take this exit, you go into this neighborhood out here. You may take roads you've never taken before, but you have such a mastery of the area around you that you're creating new techniques. And if I were to call you up and say, hey, dude, can you give me directions? Maybe no. Because I'm not even conscious of what I did. I just did it. I was driving. So, Shu, Ha, Re. Where do you guys think Agile is?
All 3.
Could be. Re? So that's my opinion as well. And there may be different opinions here, but my opinion is Agile exists, or agility exists in Re. Now let me tell you why. Here's my point of view. If I'm at Shu, and I'm driving down the highway, I got Peter's directions, right? And I'm driving, and there's traffic. Yeah, I'm staying in that traffic. There's no agility there, really. That's all I have. I have one set of instructions, right? I don't have any options. And even if I were to get a new set of instructions, guess what? I will follow them exactly. True? Where's the agility? But when we're at Re, there is agility. There's actually, you can create new techniques even as you go. Things that you've never tried before, but you have a mastery, you have an understanding of the lay of the land. Not just that, but it's important to understand this idea of agility and constraints. So again, Peter, we're going to drive from here to downtown Boston, okay? And Peter's at Re, I'm at Shoe. If we're driving on a Sunday morning, his Re level and my Shoe level, actually the manifestation is pretty much the same. But if we're driving on a Monday morning and add some snow and a couple of accidents and fog, I don't know what you guys get here, but right, just put the element, all of those. Okay, wow. Whew. I thought DC was bad. Sorry. Now his agility manifests itself a lot more than mine. So there's an important realization here. If there are no constraints, actually I don't care about agility. I don't care about anything. Just do whatever you want. There's no constraints. But agility is the ability to navigate those constraints and get value. That's the whole point of agility. And it's interesting because a lot of people get stuck in the shoebox. Because you have to start with Shoe. They learn Scrum, they learn extreme programming, they learn whatever, and they get stuck in Shoe. And it's ironic from my point of view that people are like, I gotta be flexible and use this way only. Excuse me, sir? And if I don't do that, I'm not flexible. Tell me more about that. But that's where, and again, it's no one's fault. You have to start in Shoe, but you get stuck in the shoebox. You learn one way of doing it, and it's as if Peter's directions to me, my first time from the airport to here, and people tell me there's another way, and it's like, no way. Peter told me this is the only way. That's exactly how I see a lot of teams take this in. So anyway, this is really important. Agility is in Re, and that's what we're going for. We're not going for Shoe, not even Ha from my point of view. Ha is when you have 2 or 3 practices you pick from. Agility is creation, is learning, is discovery, constant improvement. That's Re. That's agility. So if we go back to the question here, so what the heck is Agile? And there's so many different things I've heard about. I'm sure you guys have too. My favorite is it's a cult. Oh yeah, I've heard that. That's part of it. But is it a process? Is it a process? Is Agile a process? Is it a methodology?
Philosophy.
It's a philosophy, I like that. I call it a mindset. Agile is a mindset. The mindset, your mindset is your established attitudes and habits. The way you think about getting work done. Let me talk a little bit more about that. If I were to abstract to the highest level possible, this is by no means a scientific model. Do not draw this. Okay? This is just me trying to conceptualize what we try to do here. How do we get work done? Someone comes up with an idea. We move into this beautiful, amazing phase of design and explore. What are we going to actually try to build here? Right? Create prototypes, simulations, whatever it is, right? We ask questions. It's all that design, explore. And the hope is to come out with, what are we going to actually build at the end of this? And just a side note, it better be what the customer actually needs. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. Then we move into this phase of plan and procure. Okay, now we know what we're going to build. Let's actually find the people, the equipment, whatever it is. And then we do the work, we get the outcome, and hopefully we get rewarded at the end. Very simple, and again, by no means scientific here at all. But these are the ones that are interesting to me. What is our attitude and habits towards designing and exploring? Towards defining outcomes? Towards planning and procuring? Towards actually doing work? And again, by no scientific means here, but I just put these sliders to try to help us think about this. When we talk about define and design and explore and getting an outcome, I actually want you to really challenge yourself and ask, is the outcome even knowable in advance? Because there's a whole range depending on what you're building. If you're building a building like this, yes, the outcome is knowable in advance. You got to put a lot of time and effort into figuring it out. They do simulations, they do blueprints, they do all this kind of awesome stuff, but it's knowable in advance. But if you're writing a book, it's not knowable. You have an idea of what you want to talk about. If you even wrote an article or a long, angry email, you know what I'm talking about, right? You know what you want to say, but you don't know what the words are. And if I give you all the time in the world to plan what the words are going to be, you're not going to know what they are until you actually do it. Does that make sense? So it's not even knowable in advance. When we look at the how you plan and procure, there's a very interesting dimension of what you're planning and procuring. Is it thoughts and ideas, or is it tangible stuff? Is it steel and concrete and wood, or is it ideas? Because when it's ideas, the cost of change is much lower, and again, this is a whole different topic by itself, but really, the sense of done doesn't exist anymore. Because when you're writing, when are you done? When the time's up, right? When you have to hand it in, or when it's good enough. The last piece here is really, can you even coordinate and control the players in order to get things done, which is doing the work? Again, this is a very long topic, right? This is Agile 101, just these three things right there. But really, there's an interesting shift that's happening from assembly line, industrial age task work to knowledge age, knowledge worker kind of stuff. So a lot of our work right now is on this side of the spectrum. Now, what that creates for us is uncertainty. A massive amount of uncertainty. And here's how I like to summarize it. I'm going to read this. I call it the tunnel of uncertainty. Why? Because people tell me, but we have an idea where we're going. Yeah, enjoy that. Right? Yeah, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We have an idea of where we're going, and we don't know exactly what the outcome will be, and we know there will be lots of changes, and we really can't coordinate all the players needed to produce the outcome according to the plan. Sounds fun, Nancy, right? But that's really the amount of uncertainty that we're facing. I'm seeing puzzled faces. Are we good so far? Okay. I know pizza at 6 o'clock. I mean, these are like it's a formula. So the question to move forward, again, we're just trying to answer Jack's question. Remember, will this actually work? Will this yield in something that is truly agile? So when we look at this uncertainty, the question I have really about mindset for all of us is, what is your mindset? What is your established set of attitudes, habits, behaviors, whatever you want to call them, when managing uncertainty is part of your work? What do you try to do? Questions? This is not a rhetorical one. This is, you guys actually get to know. What do you do? What is your established set of attitudes and behaviors and habits when you need to handle uncertainty in order to succeed? What do you try to do? Yeah?
Identify the major areas of uncertainty and work on reducing
Identify major area of uncertainty and work to reduce them. Yes?
Visioning and brainstorming.
Visioning and brainstorming. Excellent. What else?
Prototyping.
Prototyping. Yes. What else?
See if there are patterns in the past that have worked that you can still use.
Look at patterns at the past. Look at our previous learnings and see what we can use. Excellent. Yes?
User stories and get feedback from customers.
Get feedback. Get quick feedback. Excellent. I'm going to dive deeper. I'm going to go into that philosophy, psychology kind of stuff and actually introduce you to the work of Carol Dweck. For those, has anyone heard of Carol Dweck? Mindset? Oh, guys, forget everything I'm saying today. Read the book. Just read her book. It's not about Agile, it's not about software, but it's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. Looking at the camera. Carol Dweck, okay? Carol, C-A-R-O-L, Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. Dr. Carol Dweck. She was at Harvard, then Stanford now. Pretty famous person. Look her up on YouTube. But anyway, so I'll give you the essence and how it relates to our work. So, what Carol Dweck says after her years and years of research is people have one of two mindsets, a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. All right, now let me explain this a little more. She says, basically, fixed mindset people believe that they're, and then fill in the blanks here. You can put anything, intelligence, personality, character, whatever you want to put, is locked down at birth. It can't change. Doesn't matter how much effort I put into it. So if I ask, Peter, you're just sitting here, I'm going to pick your name. If I ask Peter, can you sing? Can you sing?
Not very well.
Not very well. Okay, so if you were to ask me that, I would probably have the same answer. Now, if people say, but, you know, are you willing to try? And I say, dude, I have a horrible voice. That means I have a fixed mindset towards my ability to sing. I believe that my ability to sing is locked down or fixed. My potential is determined at birth. I have a horrible voice. It doesn't change. Versus saying, I believe that my ability to sing can be continuously developed. The answer would be, well, I probably need to practice a lot for it to even be, you know, worth anyone listening to. But if I put the effort in practice, I can probably make it. That's a growth mindset. That's a different way of looking. And look at the words here. My true potential is unknown and unknowable. Now, this becomes very interesting when you actually start to hit intelligence, personality, character, some of the bigger stuff we're talking about here, because it drives behaviors, folks. And by the way, I'm telling you, kids, grandkids, whatever, read this book. It's essential. It's essential. Because it's interesting that when people have fixed mindsets, the attitudes they start to display, they want to avoid failure. Remember, fixed mindset, growth mindset, both want to succeed. It's not like these are going to be losers, these are going to be winners. No, you have winners and losers that are both mindsets. It doesn't make a difference. Right? But the interesting part is the way a fixed mindset person approaches success is they stick to what they know. They have an inherent desire inside of them to look good. Why? I can't change it. I don't believe I can change it. So I need to look good. I stick to what I know. I avoid challenges. For me, any challenge there's a risk of failure, no, don't want to go there. That's going to expose me, expose my potential. And I can't change my potential, so I can't expose it. So, by the way, they're not big fans of feedback. And when they are given feedback, what do you think they do? They get defensive and blame others. Because remember, they feel they can't change. It's like, no, it's my boss's fault. He's a moron. But me, awesome. There's nothing I can do. Right? Product owner wasn't committed. But me, I'm no problem here at all. So they get defensive, they start blaming others. So I want you to, it's interesting, right? They avoid failure, they want to look good, they stick to what they know, they don't get feedback. Yeah, they don't change. That reinforces their mindset that they can't change. Do you see that? Okay. Growth mindset, on the other hand, continuous desire to learn. No problem, I want to learn more. They are not afraid to put effort into learning anything new. What's the worst that can happen? They don't even understand the word fail because for them it's learning. Right? It's learning. It's all learning. It's innovation. It's another trial. That's all it is. Right? And they seek feedback, not just accept it, they seek it. They want more of it because that is learning. And therefore they change. Now, the interesting thing about this, and I'm not going to dwell anymore on this, but the people aren't born with one of these two. It's really how we raise our kids. All right? And the words that we use. So if I tell my son, going back to the raising kids, if I tell my son, oh my God, you're such a good boy, that's a fixed mindset. I'm developing a fixed mindset in them. Why? You are good. You are smart. Look at you, right? It's all about you. So when he gets a C in his math quiz or whatever, I am smart. I am good. Teacher, bad. Teacher, stupid. Not my fault. I'm not kidding. I mean, this is, but this is serious. Versus, and if they start to understand it's their fault, oh, it's the end of the world. Okay, I'm now stupid. So it's all about what they are. It's a very fixed mindset. Now, forget the psychological, social aspect. What does this have to do with us? What is your mindset towards work? What is your mindset towards managing uncertainty? Fixed mindset or growth mindset? Or as I would call it, an agile mindset. When there is uncertainty, do everything inside of you, does it try to fix it so that you can actually go get it? Or are you willing to learn and discover as you go? And fail? This is a completely different view. Let me provide you with my version of prototypes, for example. Prototype is a discovery tool used with a fixed mindset. A discovery tool used with a fixed mindset. What is a prototype? I go back and forth, Peter, again. Thank you, Peter. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Because there's something uncertain, which is what Peter wants. So I'm going to go back and forth till he says, this is what I want. Then I'm going to say, sign off on it. Let me go build it. So I try. What I'm trying to do is fix it to go get it. Versus an agile approach, which is constantly learning and discovering. Let me ask you folks a question. When we talk about agile, we usually talk about practices, right? Daily stand-ups. I was looking at the Agile 101, right? Sprint planning, daily stand-ups, beautiful stuff. I'm not picking on those yet in my presentation. That will come in about in a little bit. But for now, it's good stuff. The question is, so let me give you a practical example. What is the most popular agile practice out there?
Stand up.
Practice.
Stand up.
Stand up, what else? Even more essential than that. Sprints, iterations, right? That's an agile practice. So let me show you an agile practice like sprints applied with a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. This is a picture that Jeff Patton uses often, but I'm going to use it for a whole different purpose to illustrate mindset. Take a look here. The top row is a fixed mindset approach to iterations. The bottom row is a growth mindset approach to iterations. Let me explain here. The fixed mindset. I'm a fixed mindset person. I'm a good person, by the way. Right? I want to succeed. I sincerely want to succeed. Fixed or not, I don't care, but I want to succeed, Tom. Okay, you get me? You feel me? Okay, I want to succeed here. So what the customer tells me, I believe that's what they want. So when I believe that's what they want, I'm going to actually start building it in iteration so I can get feedback. But listen to me carefully here. I want to just get feedback so I can get done. I'm not really, my mindset, my inside of me, my stance is not to allow the customer to learn and discover. I am really not crazy about change. Right? We talk about welcoming change. I work with a lot of agile teams, and that's my ultimate litmus test. When they get change, do they jump out of joy? Yay, change! Or like, yeah, okay, agile crap, change, yes. Right? What is their attitude towards change? Because here, my goal is to finish. And I understand all of our goals is to finish, but bear with me. But I build it in a way that doesn't really promote learning and discovery. Take a look down here. It's how you want to reduce uncertainty. Both want to reduce uncertainty. Fixed mindset, growth mindset, human beings want to reduce uncertainty. That's natural. But how? Here it's by nailing things down up front, and here it's by learning and discovery. Now, here's the powerful part. This first diagram is wrong. I show it to the customer, and they say, totally not what I want. Right there, when it fails, how do you feel? Do you feel success of learning? Or do you feel, oh, darn, I got it wrong?
Success of learning.
I wish most people would say that, but it's not. And even if you on an individual level have that, the organization, what mindset does it have? Yeah, that was my feeling inside too. It's like, so this is what we're talking about when we talk about mindsets. And again, this is a long topic. There's multiple days of teaching just on this. But again, I'm trying to give you a slice of this as we just try to answer the question. So, what is Agile? Agile is how to manage uncertainty using the growth or Agile mindset in software development. That's the manifesto. Everyone here familiar with the manifesto? Okay. So where did that manifesto come from? It's all about how to learn and discover efficiently in this domain. Which of these two sides of the manifesto will give you more learning and discovery? Individuals and interactions over processes and tools? Which one? Learning and discovery. Working software will provide you more learning or documentation? Customer collaboration, do you see it? That's what the manifesto is about. You don't have to argue about documentation, what did they say? It's not about that crap. It's about learning and discovery. It's about a mindset that's beyond these words. And this mindset isn't a bunch of crap. This is real stuff. This is real mindset. So just like we have mindsets towards intellect and personality, what is your mindset towards work? And I'll tell you something, just like it's not a kid's fault what mindset they have, it's probably their parents, right? The language they use. It's also not a fault of who we are. Most of us, as a society, as a work society, the industrial age has a hold on the way we think. And the industrial age, that other side of the spectrum, uses very much the fixed mindset, and it's okay there. Why? Because there was this very specific design, then build, separated. But today we don't have that. We're knowledge workers. So we moved to a knowledge age, and we're knowledge workers, but we don't have the language. We don't know what it means. I tell this to people all the time. We use the wrong language. Nancy, how many times have you heard someone say, just tell me what I need to do?
Many times.
Right? I mean, how many times have you said that? That's an assembly line worker mentality. Just tell me what I need to do. I don't care about the rest of the assembly line, just tell me what I need to do. It's as if nothing is related to everything else. And I hear people say that about Agile. Just tell me what I need to do to be Agile. It's like, dude, you got the whole thing wrong. What do I need to do to scale Agile? Still wrong. What do I need to do to change a culture? Still wrong. We are so used to being given what to do. And we ask that, and we tell people that. Another one that's my favorite is, how long is this going to take you? Excuse me? If you truly know knowledge work has no end. You can keep going. So, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Good? Yeah? All right, good. 2 weeks. Now, if you think if they finish it in a week, they'll come up to you and like, dude, I'm done? No, they'll keep going. Not because they're bad. It's just, they'll keep going. They'll develop a whole framework when you want it to function. Why? Because I finished it. And it's like writing, right? I give you 2 weeks to write an article. Right? You'll just keep writing for the 2 weeks. But if I give you a week, it's a worse draft or whatever, but it's just continuous. There's no end. Anyway, the big point here is the definition. Agile is a mindset that in the software world is established through 4 values, grounded by 12 principles, and then my favorite, manifested through many, do you guys get the point? Different practices. Unlimited number of practices. All right? This is the smallest font I could get, but there's a lot more. Okay? So, you guys heard of Scrum? Raise your hand. All right, now I'm going to start picking on Scrum and others. Scrum is a bunch of practices bundled together. It's not bad, it's not good, it is a methodology. Scrum is a methodology. It has roles, has responsibilities, has artifacts, has ceremonies. Yeah, Agile does it. XP, your own Agile process will have stuff that you currently do, will have new stuff, will have stuff that's not in anyone's book of practices. It better have stuff like that because you're a unique organization. That's what this is. So be very careful the boundaries here. Agile is the mindset, values, and principles. Stop. Right there. That's what we mean when we use the word Agile. All the other practices for me are like the leaves of a tree. They come and go. Change. I don't care. Iteration's been there, what? Since the 50s, guys. What's so special about that? That's why when you understand Agile as a process, and you boil it down to the practices, 95% of the practices aren't new. So people look at you and say, oh, I used to do that when I was your age. True. It's very true. Daily stand-ups? Think that's unique? Have you ever worked at a restaurant? They've happened years before us. And they work. The practices aren't new, they're not supposed to be new. I don't care about them being new. Test-driven development, 1960s. Yeah, sure, JUnit, NUnit wasn't there. I don't care about that, but the concept. If you understand Agile as processes and practices, then you're doing Agile. If you understand it as a mindset and a culture, then you're really being Agile. And 99% of people, unfortunately, in organizations start here by doing it. You know why? Because they ask that question, what do I need you to do? We're technical people. Don't give me that kumbaya crap, right? Hold hands and be self-organizing and collaboration. What do I need to do? 2 week iterations, daily stand-up, burn up, burn down? All right, dude, let's go. I've actually done a little bit of my own practice here. So when I look at people training and educating on Agile, it's the practices. I mapped out a 2-week work week here. That's the doing part. And I'm very generous here. So, okay, iteration planning or sprint planning, let's get 4 hours on the first day. 4 hours, good? Yes? You want it longer? I can do longer, I don't have a problem. I got all these empty boxes. All right, we're gonna have daily stand-up each day, right? I gave it, all right, 15, maybe 20, right? Your stand-ups aren't that good yet, right? 20, 30, if you have donuts. A demo, a retrospective, and I give a whole day for release planning. I don't care how you do it. If you're gonna do it in more than a day, talk to me, all right? But all that, if you add up those numbers, that's 18 hours of an 80-hour work week. What about the rest? So that's all we're training and talking to people about, that 22%. How to write better stories, how to do better iteration planning, how to have more effective daily stand-ups. Wait a minute, okay, great. But the rest of the 78%, the being part. What do we do there? What changes there? If we're truly talking about it as a process, nothing changes. Why? Just change the process elements, which is 22%. But if you're truly understanding Agile as a mindset and a culture, everything changes. The role or the discipline of business analysis in certainty versus uncertainty, huge difference. Project management, certainty, uncertainty, every discipline. And by the way, this mindset should apply to other domains. I don't know how. People try to say, we're going to use the manifesto for other domains. Just change the word software to value. I don't know. I'm not a marketing person. I don't know how they need to learn and discover more efficiently there. But there are a set of values and principles for them. My focus right now is this cone right here. Because, folks, there's so many disciplines inside of that we're not even addressing yet. How do leaders lead an organization that's constantly changing? And so, part of what I'm going to talk about later today is IC Agile. Who's heard of IC Agile, International Consortium for Agile? A few people. All right, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. I'm wearing the official shirt too. I mean, that means a lot. It means nothing, actually. But just remember this picture as we get to it. This is really the mindset applied to all the different disciplines needed to move an organization to the being part of Agile, not the doing part. So, I didn't forget about Jeff. Did we answer his first question? If he focuses his plan on process, it's not going to work. They're going to be doing Agile, but they're not going to be being Agile. You guys agree?
Okay.
All right. That was the short part of the presentation. I'm actually not kidding. This is the harder part. All right. So now we know a little bit more about what it means to be Agile. But how do we get there? How do we really transform there? Make it sustainable too. Who's been through an IT transformation before, Richard? IT, yes. Oh,
It survived.
It's arrived, yes. Still here. It's interesting because when IT uses the word transformation, which one are they talking about? Right or left? Left. They use the word transformation to roll out a new ERP, or a new tool, or a set of processes. We use those words, transformation. So even when we talk, and all the talk right now about Agile transformation, yeah, well, what would be any different there? We've done transformations before. Guess what? We know how to do them. Here's how. We focus on process and technology. There's cascading decisions. CIO says something, and we cascade it. We even have cascading meetings for that. Right, anyone? Okay, you guys are smart. Focus on training, communication. I'm not saying this is a unsuccessful. No, these are successful. You better have a really good communication plan in place. A lot of communication, yeah. And compliance. There's audits. How many? Okay, great. That's how you transform there. And there's nothing bad about that, except that we're here. If you understand Agile again as a process, then yes, of course, this is the transformation path for it. But if you understand it as a culture, this is how organizational and culture transformation. You focus on people. That sounds like the manifesto a little bit. Shared vision. You just talked about vision earlier. It's not about cascading decisions. Thou shalt be flexible. Change your mindset, John, from now. No. It's about a shared vision that everyone can buy into, that wins the hearts and minds of people. You're asking people to change the way they think, the way they've been thinking for 20, 30, 40 years. It's not by telling them. It's not about training, it's about education. Can someone tell me the difference? Great, yes, that is the difference. Silence, yes, perfect. Training is usually on skills, something that I need to be able to do. Education is about changing the way people think. You go through 4 years of computer science hearing the same crap. Why? Because it changes the way you think. Right? I can teach someone to program in a week, not 4 years. I'm not kidding. What's the difference? One is education, the other is training. We focus on, unfortunately, training. Communication versus buy-in. Big difference. You can communicate as much as you want. I'll comply, but I'm not bought in. And then it's not about compliance, it's about commitment. Because when it's about process, sure, compliance and, check the boxes and what crap, right? But when it's about commitment, it's about the 78% that's in the middle. And by the way, if you noticed, I included the lunch break. I'm not kidding, you know why? Because that's part of the being. Are you complaining during lunch? Are you happy? That's part of the being. You're not doing, but you're being you. And that's a huge part of this. I mean, we always talk about Agile bringing back the human aspect. Let's really bring back the human aspect, not fake it. Is this making sense?
Yes.
All right. Yes, get it over. All right. Okay, all right, just making sure. I gotta get my feedback too. And you guys are just looking at me like this. I love analogies, so here's my analogy. I'm trying to create strawberry jam. For me, strawberry jam is very agile, right? I won't even go there. But you guys understand where I'm going, right? It's very agile, okay? So I see organizations that do agile at a team level. It's like they got a strawberry. Tastes good, tastes great, awesome, all right? So they want more strawberries. So that's what I call multiple team agile, right? You just put more strawberries in the bowl and woohoo, we have 10 teams doing agile. Yeah, we're all agile. No, you're not, hold on. There's a big gap between multiple team agile and organizational agility or enterprise agility, whatever you want to call it. I've used multiple names on purpose, call it whatever you want to call it, right? But there's a transformation there. Has anyone ever made strawberry jam? Do you make strawberry jam by adding more strawberries in a bowl? More, turn into jam, please. No, you don't. But that's how a lot of organizations are approaching the transformation. They're starting up more agile teams in hope to have an agile organization. Guess what they get? They get agile teams in a non-agile organization. Which one is more powerful? Which one is more powerful? You guys got it. And what it does? It stomps on the strawberries. You got a puree, yeah, but there's no jam. All right, I'm going to stop the analogy there. It gets messy after that. But actually, it needs a lot of heat and sugar. It needs a lot of heat and sugar. It is truly transformational. Yes, sir? I'm sorry, I haven't, if you've raised your hand before, there's a huge column here, so I forget. Yeah.
So I'll pose a question. Can you really have an agile team? Can you really have an agile team in a non-agile organization?
The question is, can you really have an agile team inside of a non-agile organization? I have 6 slides about that coming up. It's an animation, I promise. It's an animation. 6 slides more? No, don't worry. Okay, but here's the point I wanted to get to about transformation. True transformation, you can't bring it back to original state. Once you have strawberry jam, you're not going to undo Control Z and say, I just want my strawberries back. Dude, it has transformed. So when I hear organizations say, we've transformed to Agile 2 years back, but we're back now, it's like, dude, you did not transform. You did something you called transform, but you did not transform. Because if you truly transformed, you transformed. There's no going back. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, let's keep going. So here's my definition. If Agile is a mindset, then organizational agility or enterprise agility is a culture that's based on the values and principles of Agile, supported by the organizational ecosystem, which is leadership, strategy, structure, processes, and people. And then here's my favorite part, manifested through personal and organizational habits, which is the way people really do work. That's the culture. That's agility right there. So I have a little diagram for that. By the way, all these slides, I don't know if you guys give the slides, I have the PDF of it, so
They'll be on the website.
they will be on the website. There you go. This is really important for me. And again, this is no scientific model. It's work in progress. All right. But Did anyone have a rubber band, by the way, on them right now? A hair, yes, thank you. I'll come back to the camera in a minute. All right. Okay, so I want you to imagine here that you have these different elements: leadership, strategy, structure, processes, and people. And culture is this bungee or rubber band or something around it. And it's very interesting because this thing around it does two things. It's a function of what's inside of it, and it holds them all in place. It's a very interesting two-way relationship. I will return this at the end, but I need it. It does look awesome on me. Here's what I see. Here's what I see organizations do. They do this. They push this. They're changing the process piece. They're pushing. And they're pushing hard. But the question is, what is happening to the rubber band? What is happening to the culture? Is the culture aligned or misaligned? Now, do we care if the culture is aligned or misaligned? Oh, you better. Studies have shown, I'm not going to dive into this, but you can read more about this. Studies have shown that the key distinguishing factor in organizational performance over years is a strong, aligned, and integrated culture. It doesn't matter, John, what the culture is. It could be all command and control, but it's aligned. It could be all collaborative, but it's aligned. It's not one part here, one part there. It's aligned. That's what makes a difference. And if you guys have seen the version 1 survey, right? The biggest impediment for teams to scale or organizations to scale Agile is cultural change. Yes, we've been talking about that. But again, if you look at all the things that people are talking about, SAFe and other models, it's not about culture. It's not. What's missing here? So I'm going to take you through 3 quick journeys here. One is, so this is essentially what we want to do. We want to move from here to here, okay? From the blue to the green. So the first one looks like this, right? This is what I call the process-led transformation. You push, dude, you push. You're going to push hard right there. Now, the interesting thing here is, as you push hard towards this process, this rubber band is straining. As soon as that change agent factor, whatever you want to call it, moves, what happens? It's going to go right back in place. As if nothing freaking happened. Actually, that's not completely true. There's a scar there. Oh yeah. But we're going to assume scars will heal. Nancy.
But the people within it who've really changed, don't go back.
Well, that's my second part. So if you keep pushing, people move. Maybe a little bit of the structure, right? We now have product owners. Congratulations. Good job. We have dedicated Scrum Masters. Great. I'm sincerely saying great. But it's red. Everything is misaligned. And usually, those dudes on top haven't changed it. Jack. Now, you can still keep moving. Theoretically, you can do it. But I have rarely seen this. Why? Change happens. That sponsor moves, something changes, right? So if you didn't get all the way, and the problem is actually, if you stop somewhere here, it's like, okay, now we're totally screwed. Like, where are we at this point? You have rogue Agile teams all over the organization, right? But I'm not kidding. This is reality. All right, so forget this one. Let me go to your question about teams. Can teams do it? Woohoo! One team did it. They're Agile, but they are not in alignment with the rest of the organization. So you bring in a member from another team to that team, they're like, what the hell? You take a member out of that team to another team. It's like, I cannot live out there anymore. That's how it becomes a cult. This is how it becomes a cult. The chosen ones. right? They got the team room. Dude, just give me a team room and I'll do magic. And honestly, part of me says that's true. I feel like any team from the process, and they're going to do better, even if they're waterfall. But anyway, you can still keep going. That team could be influential and start pulling some people with them. Now, notice the colors here. This is still the status quo, the blue, and these guys are misaligned. At some point, everyone's going to be confused because there is no consistent culture. Until the consistent culture becomes the Agile, and then these people are the outliers, and then everyone comes. Now, you could do this on an organizational view as well, right? Instead of team by team, just take an organizational view. And here's my favorite one, IT. So here's where I've seen it succeed. This is where I've seen it fail. When IT has like 1% of the budget, right? No influence. They are the assembly line workers of the company, mindset-wise and reality-wise, whatever it is. So yeah, you guys do whatever you want on the shop floor, but we're not changing up here. But organizations where IT looks like this, that's very different. So the influence of that team or organization can pull, or they can be the outlier. Does this make sense? All right. None of this really works for me. What I want is what I call a culture-led transformation. And in culture-led transformation, the whole objective is to move the triangle together. Don't try to move bits and pieces of it. Just like we talk about software and thin slicing software, why should this be any different? Why? Well, I'm going to try to make it realistic right now. Let's see. The challenge. So here's just a picture of it. All right. You're going to move the entire triangle, but very small. That's the key difference. I'll show you. I still got 25 minutes. I really still have 25 minutes. But it's interesting. I want you to notice there are two teams that suddenly became green. What are those about? Those are what I call anchor teams. Because of the nature of this transformation approach, it's slow. When you change culture, it's slow. So actually, and I've learned this by failing, the organization needs to see what the end result looks like in front of them to keep the motivation alive. That's why you have these anchors. So the first time I tried this, I didn't have those anchors. Didn't work. Why? They cut the funding for the transformation in the middle. Now, the powerful part was the triangle was still aligned. They moved, they haven't reached their end goal, but yeah, I mean, it's the Mona Lisa halfway through. Okay, it's a rough draft of an Agile organization. It's still not bad. The organization is still in alignment, but they didn't get through the whole thing. So the next time I did it with an organization, I made sure there were these anchor teams, which showed them where we're going. It kept the motivation alive. And so the goal is not to start more and more teams, but they may spawn up, and don't kill them, it's okay. The difference between this and the organizational one, now everyone is on a transformational journey. Before it was a cult, a rogue team. One team doing something and the rest of us are status quo. Now it's just, these guys are experimenting for us as we move towards them. Big difference, big difference. So you keep going here. Now, you can't buy a culture transformation. People try. They hire consultants to, can you change my company quickly and efficiently? You can't buy one. It has to come from within. All right? And not just that, but the question is, do you want that to be temporary or permanent? And I give the example of weight loss because I think we all can relate to this. I think maybe everyone has lost weight temporarily before. For a wedding, for an event, for the beach, for whatever. I need to lose weight quickly. Great. Cut everything from your diet. All right, great. You do lose weight, but that's not sustainable. right? You did get to Agile, but it wasn't sustainable. It's truly when it's a lifestyle change, when it's a change of culture and mindset, will it become sustainable. So, here's how. Take the triangle, and let's break it down into its elements. First, people. So this is the first one. We're going to talk about leadership and people, right? Both the leaders are still humans, okay? So we're going to talk about those two elements, and the key to transform them is an educational roadmap. An educational. How do you change the mindset of people? By educating. Even Carol Dweck, at the end of her book, after talking about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, she talks about, okay, so how do you change mindset? The number one thing is educate. Educate. But we don't educate, we train. So we'll talk about that. Then, for the strategy, structure, and process, design a transformational roadmap for them. And that's where SAFE can come into play. I'm not a hater of SAFE. Does everyone know what SAFE is? If you don't know, I'm at crossroads to tell you what it is, or
We know. We had
presentation.
okay. Well, some people said
Who
no.
wants to go here?
Some people said no because it's their first time. It's a scaling framework, pretty much. But I think it's pretty good for these three elements: strategy, structure, and process. It provides tons of insights there, right? But it's not the complete triangle. And then, don't forget the actual triangle, which is the culture, the elastic part. And what I talk about there is you have to constantly measure. Because if you truly care, if the whole point of a culture-led transformation is to make sure that the rubber band is not strained, you need to measure its strain. You need to measure alignment. And we'll talk about that real quickly. How do you measure alignment? All right, so my bias, and I'm recognizing it and I'm announcing it, is definitely in this first part. Why? Because I think there's tons of stuff out there for the middle part, and this last part, even though really important, but size-wise it's small. And this is the part that is missing. The educational roadmap, that 78%, not the training piece, the educational piece for leadership and for people. And so, if you remember this, it's establishing a common educational journey where the entire organization goes on a journey together, right, to change their mindset. And so, this is where the International Consortium for Agile comes into play. Right? What is IC Agile? What does it do? It basically does 3 things. Not 12, not 15, 3. Right? And by the way, this little icon here will keep you sort of, what are we talking about? We're talking about the people elements of the triangle. IC Agile helps define what people need to learn. So if I talk, you guys are going to have the seminar about testing. What do people need to learn to be better testers? To be Agile testing, not to do Agile testing. That's 78%. Not just the rituals of it, but the change of the mindset. How do you change? How do you test? How do you maintain quality when there's uncertainty in a growth mindset? Right? So define what those are. Number 2, ensure that people are actually learning that. Because we can define a roadmap, someone can come here and say, we'll teach you about that, but no one is checking if they're actually teaching you about that. And then every transformational, in org change and human change, say that people need to be rewarded along the way as they learn, as they transform. Another beautiful book to read is called Switch. Switch. It talks about rewarding as well. And so what we've came up with is rewarding that journey through certifications, that educational journey through certifications. So certifications, I don't know if you guys talked about that here or not, maybe a big deal, maybe a taboo, but I'm going to talk about it here in this context. So first piece is helping define what needs to be learned. These are some of the names of people that have already been engaged and have helped define this learning roadmap. So what I'm talking about is for each of those disciplines you saw in that picture, in this picture here, right? There are experts in that field that sat down together and said, what do people need to learn and be educated in for them to be Agile experts in that field? And they came up, this is just one of the tracks. This is coaching and facilitation. 30 pages of learning objectives, not what to read and then you're done. This is what people need to learn to be an Agile coach, not 2 days of training, folks. All right? So this is what the experts said, this is what people need to learn. So the question is, are people learning this? Then the second piece is accrediting the training itself. By who? Not just by training companies, but even internal organizations. There's a lot of internal organizations right now that have their own curriculum. Fine. You don't need a training company. You go to IC Agile and you say, here's what we teach, what learning objectives are we covering? And that is actually a collaborative process. You go over each learning objective and show how you cover that learning objective. And how are you going to assess for it? It's actually a pretty rigorous process. No one has passed from the first time. Not even people that wrote the tracks. And then the third part is to recognize that education and reward for it to keep people going. Here's the problem. People learn this much about Agile and stop. People go through a 2-day course and stop. There's a lot more learning that's needed. And if we're really talking about sustainable change, what is more sustainable than the people changing the way they think? And the question I have is, if you don't change the way people think, how is it going to be sustainable? Make sense? And this is not foreign to us, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. It is the first value of Agile, and yet we have missed it in the transformation, from my point of view. There's a journey to learning. It starts with an intent to learn. I just want to learn about this thing called Agile. And then actively acquiring knowledge, and then turning that knowledge into competency, and then maturing that competency into proficiency. So we reward each of these steps. For the first step, which is this, that's the foundation, that's the fundamentals of Agile, that's the mindset, values, and principles right there. And what we say is, the certification people get is an IC Agile certified professional. And what did we validate? All we're validating here is an intent to learn. That's all we are. And by the way, we're not hiding this. We're not, this is set on the certificate itself. This certification signifies that the student has demonstrated the intent to learn Agile and act as an Agile professional. This certification does not signify the assessment of competence. Period. It's just a token. It's a reward. It's a merit badge on the way. That's all it is. Then you move, this is where we want to get people to. Go beyond the foundations into whatever your discipline is. Software design, testing, executive leadership, coaching, facilitation, project management, value management, and business analysis, right? Enterprise coaching. What is your discipline? And then start learning there. And here again, this certification does not signify the assessment of competency. All you've been doing is gathering knowledge. But we'll give you that. Yes, ma'am?
The Lisa test, I assume that's Lisa Atkins, can you define that?
No, that's just really Lisa test.
Lisa test?
It's just this is a mock-up of a certification.
Oh, I see, okay, it's just a name sample, okay.
This is my favorite one, where it really gets serious. Now, you've matured that knowledge into competence. And that's what we call an IC Agile expert. And the assessment here is competency-based. So we assess the competency at that point in time. And then the last stage is we assess the proficiency. All right? Does that make sense? So, summary here. All the learning pieces, ICP. Once you get into actually being assessed for competency, that's when you change into the ICE, IC Agile Certified Expert, and then the proficiency is the Master Agilist. The key here is it's disciplines, not roles. Because every organization will have different definition of roles. It's not related to one methodology. It's not any of that. Why? Because you shouldn't have generalizing specialists in the first place. So a common journey for a quote-unquote project manager may be finishing this track and gathering some knowledge in both tracks, business analysis and facilitation. That's okay. We actually want to encourage that behavior. That's how Agile will become sustainable. When people change the way they think. And we want to show that. Everyone gets a transcript, just like a university, showing all the different certifications they've gathered, showing their expert status towards an expert level, what learning tracks have they selected to go towards, the progress within each one, the learning objectives they've achieved and not achieved. This becomes career planning. Do you see how this is integrated? So if you're talking about a transformational roadmap for an organization, say, okay, developers, you're going to go on this path. You're going to learn about refactoring, TDD, simple design, blah, blah, blah. What language? I don't care. Doesn't make a difference. But you need to learn these things about how to think. And when you read the learning objectives, these are all up on the website for free. You don't even have to give your email to download them. Right? Just go to icagile.com and download them. Just show them to your organization and say, this is what we need to learn. Let's go out and learn it. So people can start from the fundamentals, or if they already have the fundamentals and have displayed that intent to learn, move on. So that's the first piece. But again, that's the majority of the presentation, because really, the rest of this, a lot of people have done a lot of work in. But it's that educational component. So going back to this, I've even seen organizations where the three middle things have moved. Strategy, structure, and processes. But people haven't. They've changed 22%, which is the doing part of it. But they haven't changed their mindset from fixed to growth. And if you don't do that, it's not sustainable. I haven't seen it sustainable until people change the way they think. That's my personal opinion. So this is where SAFE can come in, right? That strategy, structure, processes. This is where other models can come in, but I'll spare you that. And I want to dive just very briefly into this last piece, because it's, again, one of the forgotten ones, which is measuring. So I'll tell you, measure three things to make your transformation sustainable and successful. Measure progress, measure impact, and measure alignment. Progress. Even though we don't care about progress per se, but we care about impact, the reality is your funding may get cut if you don't show progress. Because when you truly understand that you're changing the culture, changes to culture won't show up quickly. It's like a seed. It will live underground for a while. So if you're not showing progress, they'll say, okay, this Agile stuff isn't working. We've spent, $400,000 on training and consultants. Kill it. Wait, the seed is about to grow. But no. So you need to show progress through your Agile transformation. Number two, validate the impact. And this is where it gets interesting, because I have seen horrible measurements out there. Horrible measurements. So if one of the things you're trying, and this is just an example, if one of the things you're trying to get to from your Agile transformation is innovation, what do you actually measure? What is innovation? I tell people, measure escalations. Huh? What is it? What does escalations have to do with innovation? Escalations is complaints. People complaining up the chain. They're not doing this, they're not doing this, they're not doing this.
You're revealing the impediments. You're making.
But how does that show innovation?
thinking about things.
Yes, people are thinking about things. Innovation is not, oh my God, a new iPhone, right? That's, oh, let's not go there. But innovation, what we call everyday innovation, is now people are thinking about new ways to get around the constraints. Isn't that agility? Remember driving? First example we started with? So every time, again, if I'm truly innovating, I'm going to stop calling Peter and say, hey, what do I do next? Help me. I don't know where I am. I'm innovating. Right? So we can collaborate and we're innovating and we're not complaining up to our bosses. That's a practical measure of innovation. But that needs a lot of thought to come down with how to measure these things. Then, and I'll conclude with this, how to measure alignment. Buy-in. Oh, you can measure buy-in. Surveys, you can measure buy-in. No. Trust me, because I've done this. Commitment is also very measurable. I can give you a story after actually, yeah. I'll give everyone a story if you want to do it. So commitment. So again, let's give the context here. You want to see, is this triangle aligned or not? And it's really important because your top people, the people may be going on an educational journey, but you may be changing the structure processes quicker or slower than the journey. Remember, you want the triangle to move together. You don't want that straining to happen. So one of the biggest telltale signs I've seen is commitment and buy-in. Let me give you an example. One of the organizations I've worked with, we're going Agile. All the directors committed, dude, all the way, all right? But what we're seeing in reality is we're asking for people to do things, they're not doing it. We're asking for people to commit roles to the project, they're not, all right? So there's no buy-in to really, there's no commitment, all right? How do you expose that to the system? How do you do that? Here's, again, I'm just giving an example, right? One thing we did was we had a director's meeting. There was like 80 or 90 people there. And it was a room probably this big. We put all the way on that side a flip chart that says not committed. We put all the way on that side that says fully committed. And I had the CIO, and I told him, stand aside with me here. And I asked people to spread out how committed they are to the Agile transformation. Guess where everyone went? Fully committed. It was like, oof, it was a crowd over there. And the CIO said, see? Hey, I'm not done, dude. So then we introduced 3 other flip charts in the middle, and we changed those 2, and we defined what commitment means. So over there we said, not committed, we actually wrote level 1 commitment is send people through training. Level 2 commitment is send people through, I can't remember the exact things, but send people through training and, can't remember what it was, something about doing something in their staff meetings or something like that. Level 3 was giving actual slack time for people to learn about Agile. All right? Level 4 was something else. I will never forget level 5 because it was model desired behavior. Right? I'm not done with the story. So then we put that out, and I said, okay, now, please stand where you feel committed. Everyone moved from that side of the room to this side of the room. The CIO was standing there, and he said, oh, okay, I get it, but I'm not done yet. So then I said, okay, now, find your VP, and as a team, discuss which level of commitment you're willing to commit to your CIO. So I gave them 10 minutes to talk. I saw hands wave, and I saw people. All right, talk. So some teams stood at 3, some teams stood at 4, some teams stood at 2. And then I actually, at this point, as the coach facilitator, I stepped out. And I said, report back to your CIO. And each team said why they're standing where they're standing. And then I told the CIO, so the transformation team needs to announce to the organization what the level of commitment is. What do you want us to say? And he said, give me 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks. I said, what are you going to do during those 2 weeks? He said, I need to talk to people. Now, honestly, he took 4 weeks. All right? But hold on. Honestly, I think this is a success story. Took 4 weeks. In those 4 weeks, they had 3 meetings with all the directors, all the VPs. All right? It was remote at that point. But after 4 weeks, he came back and said, we as an organization are committed at level 4. And again, commitment is understood. That shows alignment. Because when people are not committed, what's happening? Something is pulling something in some other direction. So you can measure it. Good? Tangible? All right. So, summary slide. Step to get started. Executive alignment and visioning. People have to see this. People have to understand it as a culture shift, right? Not a change of process. There is a readiness assessment usually that's done. Are people ready for this? Time, money, I mean, don't start on a university program and you only have money to finish the first course. All right, that actually could harm you because people are going to start to say, we know Agile. Dude, you don't know Jack. You've been through 2 days of training. That's all. Right? You're not certified Jack at this point. Charter internal capability. How are you going to staff this internally? Because you can't buy this. You can't say, hey, you consultants come and you know what the consultants, and I'm one of them. Right? What consultants do? We do the pushing for those bricks. All right? And as soon as we leave, whoop, the rubber band comes back. All right? You may hand it to 1 or 2 people there, but still they're pushing. It comes from inside. So what are you going to do there? Then, that's sort of the getting started right there. Then, you have those 3 elements. Define what the educational journey is going to be for everyone, including leadership. That's why we have a leadership track. It was essential to have a leadership track in the IC Agile roadmap. Why? Because they need to go through learning and education as well. Actually, they're critical. Then define what your Agile transformation roadmap looks like. DAD, safe, create your own, whatever it is, I don't care. And then establish what your measures are going to be. People jump that damn step. And that is critical. Then identify and launch your anchor teams to start to show success, and then roll out stage 1 of your plan. That's it. I'm done. And right at my time box as well. And thank you for the props.
There was a big question.
If I have a situation with many areas of uncertainty, is it going to be fair and productive for me to apply the fixed mindset to a lot of those that I consider smaller or less important ones in order to devote my resources to doing the growth mindset on the ones I really care about?
So, this is my personal opinion. If you're going to take the organization on a journey to change mindset, take the organization, not bits and pieces of it. The fixed mindset is not a bad or good mindset from my point of view. It's not applicable to the work we do. So if we were construction workers and you had a fixed mindset about your work, you can live in harmony. But if you're a knowledge worker and you have a fixed mindset about your work, you're in continuous struggle. So my recommendation is take everyone on a growth mindset journey, and if you are going to prioritize, remember those sliders, find out who's on that side, start with them maybe. All right? So for example, data center people, that's more towards the task work. There's still some knowledge work there, but it's more towards the task work. So they can live with a fixed mindset longer than, let's say, a programmer or a project manager or a business analyst or a leader. Is that? So there is a prioritization. However, to keep that triangle aligned, have a common journey for everyone. Yes, sir. Do you guys alternate going between silos or not really? No? Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about the measurement culture? So, for example, you had the one metric that you were talking about measuring escalations. On the one hand, I like what you said about the interpretation of it being a measure of innovation. On the other hand, as a leader, I might be able to game that by being very Machiavellian.
True, and that's why, so again, that's actually part of what I'm saying, that without education, without them changing their mindset as leaders, they'll still game the whole system, because the system was built on a whole different mindset. So there's a transformation that needs to, and that's why the whole triangle needs to move. So I wouldn't change reward measures till my leadership is educated on that first. Or else then I'm pulling, again, I'm creating strain in the triangle. That's why creating this transformational journey, these two need to be in sync together. Does that make sense, Steve? So, and one of the things I skipped, but it will be in the presentation, are some examples for roadmaps that I've used with actual customers. So these are actual stages throughout the transformation, and actually what they're doing. So in this stage, I'm just going to show as an example, everyone was trained on the Agile mindset. Everyone. And then we went into how to run effective meetings. 80% of what we do is meetings. So how do we do that? Facilitation skills, right? So anyway, just as an example, and don't take this as the only one. There's so many different ones, and please don't use any of them because none of them will work for you. That's why I'm very hesitant to show these. But yeah, that's the art of the transformation, which is how to align the educational journey with the changes in structure, processes, and strategies, so that none of them are out of sync. So if you look at the leadership track, right? One of the first things you educate leaders on is what to measure. How to be a network leader, not a hierarchical leader. Those kind of things. So they absorb that, then you change the system. But if you change it the other way, they're going to game it every day. Every day. Bottom. This side of the room. Equal opportunity. This side. Let's go home. Let's go home. All right. Thank you, folks.